Hello, everyone. Second show of the year, still working things out, but pretty smooth. I'm here. This is January 15th. I very rarely put the dates up, but once again, we're bringing back Miguel Crawford of the Grasshopper Adventure Series to talk about this year's season. There's a couple more events added to the slate, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Sonoma wildfire history, which severely affected the area with a few fires, which is something we're experiencing here in Los Angeles. Really briefly, last week, originally we had these shows on Tuesday, push it to Wednesday because we had a lot of power outages. And then Wednesday, things were very tenuous because there's fires starting off in Runyon Canyon, which is about 5 miles away. Friends' parents were calling, and simmered that down right before the show. And then right after the show, fire popped up less than a mile from my parents' house, and we kind of evacuated, even though there was no call for it. We felt like, hey, we've got the time in case things get worse. Let's not feel like we've got 10 minutes to get out. Let's take our time and get the things we needed. Very strange to go through that exercise. I could just imagine what everyone else is going through. So, seeing everybody with the loss of property, loss of lives, and just people's universe completely changing. That's the one downside about being a bike community is you're pretty well linked to people, and we know a lot of people that are going through this. Last Saturday we had planned to ride in San Luis Obispo at the end of last year, and it was great to see those people from Slow Gravel and Kyle from Visalia who put the ride together. And they definitely knew what's going on, but it's really a shared problem we have here across California. So this Sunday, we've got our Send It out at Bakersfield. Great community over there. Another opportunity to get your mind off a little bit and ride and see everybody around. So let's just get to the show now. So bringing it back is I don't want to get into a competition who's better lit, but I don't think it's going to be a really strong show. I mean, me, yes, but got all types of other things going on here. So, Mig, I haven't spoken to you in a year. I've seen you in a whole year. How's it going?
It's going well up here. Been extremely busy, but we've been blessed by a really heavy winter in November, December, where we got, 30 inches in a matter of a month, and some good storms in between. But lately we've had blue skies, and things are green and busy.
Yeah, almost the exact opposite of our weather conditions down here. It's nice to have, not to check the weather report, but at the same time, we definitely need the rain. But you got to see it. You were down here 2 weeks ago. We got some rides in, and one of the rides we went on was severely affected by the Eaton fire. Probably ate up at least half of what we rode. And then we did the Santa Monica's the next day. I don't know exactly how to react or to bring that up from there, but we're glad to have you. And I know it's strange to come out here in December and have super great weather, but I guess we have downsides to that too.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate you guys, showing me around, and I made you ride Strawberry Peak again, and that's my fault, Victor. He already told you that, but I was thinking when Mount Wilson, it's such a special climb out of low, and there was one spot too. I know when Vic and I were riding together, and you shift around this corner, and there's just some really big, I don't know if they're gray pines or what it is, but you start getting up there, and it's a really unique spot that's relatively accessible from Pasadena and Altadena. And so I'm crossing my fingers, but I do think that area burnt as well. And yeah, my heart goes out to the folks out there. It's still going on. It's incredibly difficult, but people will get through it. And we look out for each other, and that's what humans are about. Leave the politics out of it, and let people help people, and help people who are helping people. So anyways, thoughts for folks that are in the midst of it and have lost everything.
The community's really coming together.
Yeah.
Politics be damned.
Yeah. Los Angeles. Well, we're going to discuss more of this later, because I am pretty concerned about what the next couple of weeks will look like, and from your experiences, definitely want to hear from that. But first, I want to get into, I know Low Gap is a week and a half away, and I mean, your events are great, but there's just something about Low Gap that it's like the return of spring, and just the attitude of everyone there, their first event of the year. People have goals throughout the year that this is the first sending off point. You've got your mentorship program, and just the energy there is fantastic. And I know it's a lot of work to put together, but do you feel that, like, I know this is like the ideal thing you would love to put together, but are you able to absorb like this community that you've built here for Low Gap?
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, like say the last week or two, it started to really kick in. It's primarily myself and Ian and Austin. We have a great team, but a small team that are behind the scenes. But now is when we start having calls with the folks from Ukiah, and video call with the Ukiah police, coordinating with the sponsors who are coming out, our marshals who are diehard supporters, the shops who are going to be out there, the volunteers from the mountain bike clubs, and Interact at the high school. So I feels a little bit lonely for a while, but once we realize how many folks are there that makes it what it is, I just feel honored to be kind of ushering this into existence each year. And it's as special, I'd say more special than it's ever been. I just had a call with we're now having 4 EMTs out on the course, and these are folks from Fort Bragg and Willits and Ukiah, and so it feels very special still. I think that was your question. And I had a conference call or video call with the mentor program, and so about 30 young women, and Helena and Kate Courtney and Rebecca Rush. I mean, think about that. You're a high school aspiring racer, and you get mentored by Rebecca and Kate, and it's just a real special cycling community. I'm just thankful to be part of it, and still get to do this.
Like I don't know if it is conscious, but like, this Low Gap is 45 miles. It's not as long as some of the other events, nor as hard, but it feels like a sprint the whole way. Was that your intention to start off the season like this, or it just was kind of like the best mechanics for this time of the year?
Well, we'll have to, if you think about the origins of the Hopper, people know it for Old Kaz, and there was some similarities in that, in the distance of it, where you could almost get away with it on different bikes. And, if you recall, when I started the Hoppers back like in 1998, it was to get ready for mountain bike season. But back then there was a strong cross race scene, especially down in Santa Cruz in the Bay Area. There's always been a robust racing scene, and then the mountain bikers. So my intention was to pick a course that kind of was geared for folks that are coming out of cyclocross season that were ready to pin it, but it was at least twice as long as their races, shorter and dirt for the road riders and mountain bikers. It kind of like was that sweet spot. But Low Gap was on my radar for a long time. And so when we shifted to this, it was a perfect segue. It's also a course that we could run rain or shine. And we've never canceled a Grasshopper due to weather, and that's saying a lot in NorCal. So yeah, it's on purpose. Zach, how about that climb? You like the start?
I do. I mean, the climb is. Vic says no.
No, I didn't like it.
I mean,
I kicked my ass. Oh my God. Now I understand it, but wow, what a start.
Yeah, I don't think like it hits an extreme grade. It's definitely puts you in the red, but it's a smart way to start off a ride so you can separate everybody.
Yes,
and not punch them up. Yes. And yeah, it's long enough that once you kind of like hit the rolling part and then that big descent, that you should break up into smaller groups. And then I think I was telling you about the Nichols ride here on Sunday. Like it has a very feel of where you're trying to rubber band and break apart. And then as you kind of go along, you're going to try and break your group up into a smaller group or maybe catch a group in front. So I know the first half is paved, but it just has like really great ride dynamics. And I kind of feel like the part where you hit the flat part into the redwoods and stuff like that is kind of an opportunity to catch your breath and reassess everything before you have that other climb before you hit the dirt.
But when you hit those twisties at the top, that kind of sudden downhill, it's like a roll. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That made the climb all worth it because it was like, wow, this is great. It's almost like a racetrack. It's just a sinuous, super sweet, in the woods, curvy greatness. I loved that part. That made the climb all worth it.
Well, now having descended behind you on the road, Vic, I get that you enjoy that because you're a hell of a road descender. So yeah, that's
thank you.
And that pavement's new. The first couple iterations, that pavement was rough. So that's a bit
I got the good stuff then.
Yeah, that's sport. I mean, the audience, depending on the age group of your crowd here, though, probably everyone remembers writing checks, which is that's always the metaphor I use. But it's really possible in this event to write some big checks. And when you come to that last dirt climb at the end of the day, that they come back insufficient funds, and you're going up that climb. And because inevitably it's if you're racing, you go harder than you probably should. And then once you get to the feed zone, people tend to think that's the end of the climb, but it keeps stepping and stepping and stepping and stepping. It's a tricky course to really ride your own race. So I love that. And it's just long enough. I mean, Peter Stetton and Christopher Blevins were following each other and they were like cramping at the end of 48 miles. So you go deep.
Yeah. I mean, I learned after year one that try not to, if you can, try not to stop at the aid zones because you can definitely, I think I went with 3 bottles and I'm a heifer. So I did that and I had all my food and ended up dropping my phone, which was great. And having to look for it. But I think one of your marshals found it. So that was super. But yeah, it's, I love courses or that length that, you don't have to like break them up and you can really go full gas almost the whole time.
Yeah. And the length for me, I mean, as you know, maybe not everyone who's watching this, but like as I developed the race series, I mean, I was a high school teacher started in elementary school, but for 27 years and started and helped coach a mountain bike team. So I've always, getting the youth out to race has been important. And this one doesn't conflict with their schedule. And then it's a good distance. I think though gravel is all the rage, the distances are pretty much, or they're a little much for a lot of folks, and especially for the youth category. So we have like 65 juniors racing this, and it's a lot longer than a NorCal race, but I love that we have something that's like just past that comfort zone that one can really challenge themselves. So I'm really excited that they get to have this experience and, it's in their backyard. So that feels real special.
Now, I'll move ahead to Huffmaster in February, and last year was the first time that I did it. And I think if a lot of people are looking at the numbers, Huffmaster is almost twice as long, 80 miles versus like 45. But it's not like doing a rock cobbler. It's a really, really fast. It's probably the fastest, gravel event that I've been on, because even with my battery dying, I still I think
on your e-bike,
huh?
On your e-bike.
You have to explain what battery you're talking about, Zach.
No, go on, Zach.
Vic grilled me for this. My whatchamacallit, shifting battery. Anyways, but I think I still average like 18 miles an hour, despite that, and the pit stops and somebody searching for a battery for me. That's and that's a completely different course in that you do have a couple 2-3 climbs in there, but they're like Cat 4, Cat 3 type climbs. Nothing too much, but it's definitely probably the one that feels somehow even feels more like a road race on dirt.
Yeah. You should put a picture of that. I'm getting like dizzy looking at this repeat on this video. I mean, it's a good video. But it's looping. Yeah, Huffmaster, and I could speak to that for a minute. Just the intrigue and the allure to it. For one, it's a place where we initially, my friend Jason Horn and I went out there and rode that. We both knew that area, and he came up with actually the specific iteration of it. But the first version of it was a fundraiser for Campfire, which was the fire a couple of years after the Tubbs. That we helped raise some money for, and then it shifted to some of the proceeds go to the Lauren Huffmaster's Adventure Therapy Foundation. But it's this range in between the Central Valley and the Mendocino National Forest. Mendocino National Forest, it's very remote, and it's mostly an off-road hunting, motorcycles, quads type of fishing place. But there's these little roller hills in between that are just spectacular, and we use some of the roads in between the rice paddies and the agriculture. And for me, I mean, one of the things I really enjoy about it is having not raced a lot on the road, but I'm always been just a fan of road racing, and we train a lot on the road. And the dynamics and efficiency and teamwork on that. So there's a bunch of flats that it's just a whole different element to this event that keeps people together longer. It's more social. It also allows people that want to pin it off the front and kind of changes the dynamic. So it's not just a solo experience. I think a lot of people like that. Others are just used to giving themselves. A lot of people have gone into gravel events and only ridden gravel. So it requires people to have some experience in working in a pace line and also moving around. But the fact also that the elevation isn't so extreme that it's just a climber's course. I knew Brennan Wirtz, it's one of his favorite races in the country. He's going to be back again this year. He's our current gravel national champion, and he planned out his victory months in advance on how he would beat those guys. So that was pretty cool to see him do that. So to have a race that's going to be dynamic and not just like the best climbers going to win. Because if you look at low gap, I mean, whoever's the best climber pretty much is going to win that one. You can't make mistakes descending. So anyways, it's got a special place in my heart, and it's just such a different part of California that I don't think there were any Strava segment. I think maybe there was one Strava post on Huffmaster before we started doing the event there. Now there's thousands. People go out and ride in that area, but had been very infrequently.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how many pockets there are between the 101 and the 5 freeways that really are untouched, and that even goes for south of the Bay Area, which this little ride we did last week
Mhm.
in Shandon was fantastic. And sometimes you know, you look at Strava and you're like, well, nobody's ridden out there. But sometimes you look into it and you're just, the payoff is large.
Mhm.
It's just because no one's really discovered it. And, those roads were open to vehicular traffic, but maybe one or two, uh, really I came across the whole time. But our speeds definitely kept us at bay too. So yeah, it that wasn't really an issue at all.
Yeah. I mean, that's why it's great. I love the work that you guys are doing. I mean, you go to events, but it's not really focused around races and events. It's like getting people out to cool places and let them know. I mean, California is a huge state, and it's good that you have the point of view of that living in the megapolis of Los Angeles, you know. But as soon as you fly over California, it becomes quickly apparent that there's a few places where most of our population is. It's the Bay Area and it's LA, and the rest of it, it's massively open. So, short drives, there's just so much to explore and discover. And as we talked about on our rides, even if other people have ridden someplace and it's new to you, that sense of discovery, or if it's something that you've done and you share with someone else, like we have that to look forward to from each generation and new people coming into cycling. It's that sense of discovery is very personal, and I'm appreciative that there still is that, yeah.
Well, maybe Vic will talk about this one a little bit more, but right after there in March, you've got your Lake Sonoma mountain biking event, and you were showing me video of that, which, I'm still trying to figure out mountain biking, let alone regular biking. But
what is your problem with mountain biking? You do mountain biking. You just do it with drop bars. Every time we do single track, when we do backbone, when we do Strawberry Peak, all that stuff, we were mountain biking. Right, Vic?
We were, Vic. You should ask. So John Tomac and Steve, a lot of those guys raced on drop bar mountain bikes and the original mountain bike, but they don't ride mountain bikes on those anymore, Zach. I mean, they actually have a mountain bike for mountain biking. We'll work on them.
The thing is, when you add in the flat bars and the more slack geometry and suspension, it just opens up a whole nother style of aggressiveness on the trail. Like, you can do things you could never do on your gravel bike. And you're already doing really great on the gravel bike. So when things get chunky and when things get scary, you have a dropper post, you have big tires, you have a lot of travel. It's just 180 millimeter rotors. Like, everything is more robust and appropriate for chunkier, gnarlier riding.
Look at that look he's giving you.
He's like, I don't care. You know what? He went over the bars on a mountain bike like 15 years ago, and he thinks that's what a mountain bike is.
It was before they had suspension is when I went over.
Well, you crashed your gravel bike in front of my eyeballs. I can't even count how many times.
Oh, better have it on video.
Well, so we do put on a mountain bike race, and it's an amazing course. The last couple of years, we've done a multi-lap shorter version because of the high waters at the lake, as in like 20 feet deep at the crossing. So that really wasn't an option. But we're putting the work in, and the Healdsburg Running Club, they do some big races out there. So it's like a 25-mile up and down. Like, if you look at the profile of it, it's just
how much gain?
Like 4,500 feet, something like that. But you never gain. There's one climb at the end. The start, there's a climb. At the end, there's a climb. But other than that, it's not more than like 150 feet at a time. So there's this rhythm to it that I really enjoy. And it's just a bench cut around a lake built by the Army Corps. The trail was built actually modeling the Tevis Cup for horse racing. So just up and down and up and down. And that time of year, it's going to be beautiful and green. And the Army Corps are great to work with. So we're going to be out there working. And I just joined the Friends of Lake Sonoma board. So now they have a bike representative along with equestrians and runners and fisher and hunters and whatnot. So we're hoping to do some trail improvement and work with them. And so it's a great one on the calendar. And we often get people that haven't done mountain bike races that have come and do this. And of course, we have a real hardy mountain bike crew that don't do any grasshoppers except for Lake Sonoma. So I'm happy to bring back the big loop.
What's the bike of choice? XC bike, enduro bike?
No, definitely an XC bike. I mean, you can get away if you're just like top elite racer. You could probably maybe be faster on a hardtail. I ride a Specialized Epic Evo, which for me is perfect. There's some chunky stuff that it's just I'd rather be a little overbiked for that, and for the couple long climbs you can lock it out. So definitely an XC bike, not a drop bar bike, not an enduro bike, not something like a Stumpy or anything like that either.
Right. So not a surly what Zach wants to buy.
It can be done. In fact, we used to do the Super Skags, which did Sweetwater and Old Kaz and King Ridge, and then at mile 85, you hit 15 miles of single track along Lake Sonoma to finish. So it was like 90 miles and 10K, and you had like a 15-mile single track section. So you had to be on your drop bar bike. That was fun. We got to do that again.
Okay, well, we'll move on to April, or Ukiah Mendo Epic, which has some components of low gap, but it has the shorter course which people can choose, or the longer one. I'm pretty intrigued to get out there, and didn't make it last year, but like now I'm starting to get like this whole area all together, and like how close you are to the coast, and riding up in the hills, further west than the low gap. And it's amazing. There's still stuff out there, even though like you're just so far remote from everything.
Yeah, this is a just a stellar course. We started in Todd Grove Park again with an escort, but this time we go up low gap from town. So immediately we start with the dirt climb that's like 6-7 miles. And then we go down the dirt, which is the big climb we finish on low gap. And then where that bridge is, we go under it and we go all the way out to Navarro on their Masonite Road. So the Masonite is a privately held logging road by Mendocino Redwood Company that goes from their mill in Ukiah to Navarro. It's 35-mile private logging road, point to point. And then we have some amazing pavement on Flynn Creek and Compchi, and then back low gap. And we're hoping this year to flip it a little bit and climb up Miller and back down low gap, so we could actually have traffic control and finish in the park. So we're crossing our fingers on that. We're looking at the routes and if we can get enough support so we can have a proper finish right there where people are parking, having the after party and whatnot. So and then that one's going to be an actual district championship. So it's always been a competitive field, but that's going to be an additional add for folks.
Let me quickly, first of all, thank you for all the comments about the fire in the community. People putting here on the side. Let me quickly, Nehemiah. Hopefully you'll be out there. It's been a while since we've seen you at CI, but looking forward to reconnecting. Then maybe we'll get to. Well, maybe we'll talk Lost Coast later this year. We did make that you saw video of us scouting the ride, and if you watch our best of, which comes out tomorrow, you'll see me speak a little bit more about that. But I think that's a must-do and very special area to reach. But maybe we'll return to that. I'm going to try and keep moving here. And this is new on the slate, the King Ridge. didn't have that last year. And I can't believe of all of our trips, Vic has not been out to ride anywhere north or south along the Russian River in that area over there. And those roads I just absolutely dig. I know Sonoma roads aren't always in the best shape, so it's nice to go, even though this is mostly a road event with a 30, 32 maybe. But for people who have not been out there, can you tell us a little bit about King Ridge?
Yeah, well, to call it King Ridge we do ride King Ridge, but really I call it the Hopper's Greatest Hits, so this will be 28 years. And I think we've done like 35 different courses that have been a Grasshopper. So for 20 years, they were all out of Occidental, and Occidental is like this hub of roads. It's where my wife's from and where we lived for a long time. And yeah, so we do Joy, and it's a counterclockwise loop of King Ridge with 3 timed segments. So the first one is up Joy, which is the greatest oxymoron. We used to do Chileno Valley, which finished up Joy. Every time people would be falling over, cramped, and like just chaos on Joy. So that's our first segment. Then we go up the coast and we go up Myers Grade. If people know Myers Grade, it's the one. It's that iconic descent when you're looking out to Point Reyes, but we're going up it. So this is classic for Mig. So a little side note: when I first did this King Ridge this direction in a Grasshopper, there were quite a few people that told me it was going the wrong way, and I was like, okay, I've got a good course. If they feel it's going the wrong way, then they're bothered. And I mean that in a good way, because there's folks that just have certain ways of doing things. And if you're doing it timed, and before it was all one loop, it really changes. When you know a loop, this is how hard I can go. This is how long it takes me. This is where it split up last time. So it's in reverse. And then we drop down to the coast on Fort Ross, which goes to the historic Russian settlement on the coast there. And then up to Cruise. So there's a little bit of dirt. And then the third segment goes up Cruise, which is a really nice gradual gravel climb through the rhododendrons. Likely they'll be blooming at the time.
So wait, question. The dirt segment, you said mostly this is a road bike thing, a road bike 30s on here. Yes.
Yeah, I would do 30 or 32s depending on how they fit on. I think my Roubaix comes with 32s that are like 35s. I don't think I would change them per se because of King Ridge, which we'll talk about. There's some of the pavement out here. It's as rough as gravel, but in that way where it's like potholes and huge chunks at high speed. So riders really don't want to just showing up on lighter equipment. But in terms of the surface of the gravel, 30 or 32, depending on how the casing and how strong your tires are.
Got it.
And then you could see where it ends at the top of Hauser Bridge. And if you look at that pitch going up Hauser, I think it hits 22% for a while.
Yeah.
You cross the bridge. I love it. I love it. And then it'll end there. So that's the end of our series. We'll have a great feed zone. We're using active timing chips. So we'll have Starlink there. We'll send our results back to Duncan's Mills. And then riders get like a 40-mile ride back to Duncan's Mills for the after party, so they can regroup and wait for their friends. And that direction on King Ridge is into Cazadero is super sketchy. It's really fun, but really sketchy. So that it's not a timed portion.
What makes it sketchy?
Really decreasing radius turns, super narrow with big potholes. The way they tend to patch the roads is they'll go drive along with the Caltrans truck, or they'll dump out some asphalt, and then they'll just move on for the cars to
They don't even compact it.
No. And then it's just that all over each other with the water. So it's all different levels. And
your tax dollars at work. God.
No, you'll love it, but it's one of those things. So my pre-ride talk always for my ones, like, you'll almost never see a car, but when you do, it'll be around a blind turn. It'll be a Ford F-350. Pulling horses or cattle. Like, that's the car you're going to see. So every turn at a Grasshopper, you're just thinking, okay, I don't see anyone, but it's coming, but it's coming, but it's coming. And that's happened to me in that section. I've been thinking, okay, be careful. And here comes the truck, and I've got my 2 feet to go inside. So it's a beautiful loop, that King Ridge. It's been well known. The Coors Classic raced it. It's an iconic Northern California route. It's been in Levi's Grand Fondo for a really, really long time. It's just special. I don't know.
Yeah, this kind of gives a view of like the road coming down here on Google Maps, and yeah, you can get really fast, and it's one of those things like you get a pretty super confident, but then you've got like these really tight turns.
You run out of road and talent.
Oh, there you go. There's the truck. There's your truck.
F-350. That's a rig.
What's he pulling? He's like pulling a something. I don't know.
Some other vehicles.
They're closing the road, I think.
Those signs.
Absolutely. It's this county road sign. Yeah, see, that's it. You haven't seen a car in 3 hours, and you're doing 38 miles an hour around this corner, and then there's that truck. So,
oh, Lord.
So,
boy. Yeah, I mean, like I also like going north on the one, because that way you're not facing the headwind that direction too, and avoiding the downhill on those roads, because whether it's that, all those roads seem to be the same profile.
Yeah, I mean, this fits in a lot of places, but we've called them California certified ribbon roads. I mean, where we rode with you guys as well, above Santa Monica and stuff. It's similar. It's just it's like a single track on pavement, and yeah, and I'm happy to come back to Sonoma County again, and where we're starting and finishing in Duncan's Mills. It's an old mill town, super small little town. There's a great campground called Cassini right there on the river. And you're about a 10-minute drive to the beach. And my friend Pat owns a cafe and brick oven pizza. So I think we'll have Mexican food and brick oven pizza and have the finale there. And we'll be bringing it home, and it's going to be a real special event.
Yeah. And along Russian River, there's tons of places you can stay. If you're making that drive up there, you might as well do that, especially that time of the year.
Absolutely. No, this is, and again, so I mean, your audience is bigger than the typical hoppers. Like, which one to go to? The one in Ukiah is a lot to do. In Duncan's Mills, this is one where you can come with the family for 3, 4, 5 days, because you're only 45 minutes to Healdsburg, a half hour to Santa Rosa, you're 10 minutes to Jenner, you're an hour and 15 to San Francisco. There's great camping. There's incredible hotels and lodging and a lot of restaurants. And so it's a great time of year, and it's Mother's Day the next day. So, tell them you're going there for Mother's Day, and you just happen to have a bike race on Saturday, call it good.
Well, I got booked up for for something my wife wanted to do for Father's Day, so I think maybe I'll return the favor for Mother's Day this year. So we'll see how that goes. We'll have you back on to talk the Lost Coast Hopper and your gravel camp, which is something new that looks like you'll be releasing details soon, but that's going to be in late July.
Yeah, the dates are there, but we'll be fleshing it out and have that information soon. So, but people can pencil in the dates.
Um, yeah, so really, I know on Saturday on the drive up to SLO, you gave me a call about, we were talking a little bit about what was going on with the fires here in LA. And, I think like for us here, it's just been a lot to absorb. First, it's kind of been like a horror movie, and the fact you sit there and you wait and not know where the next flare up is going to hit across town. And a lot has happened at that time. A lot is still happening. But I was even talking with Sam the other day that even though I think, today in Los Angeles we're lifting the red flag warning, really we're kind of in trouble until we really get a significant rain in there. And someone was pointing out, Robin from Tour de Big Bear was be careful between a hard rain and a soft rain. So we need to fall in that gentle zone as well, because I kind of fear. I mean, we've had a lot of support now giving the community right now, but if things don't change or improve with the rain coming the next soon, this can happen to even more people, and our resources are already kind of stretched. So I'm kind of thinking a little ahead to that scenario. But I know Sonoma with the Tubbs and the Kincaid fire, well within the last decade, really changed the shape of the area. And my friend was, I couldn't believe he was living about less than a mile from the Russian River Brewing there in Santa Rosa. And I would never thought an area like that would need to be evacuated, and how close it came. And yet, it happened there, it happened here. And so with the Cubs fire was 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So I know people's lives are still affected by that, but what was the steps of the community that, to recover from that?
Well, I mean, it was long. I mean, it was person to person and organizations and people within communities, whether you're an animal owner, or if you're into cyclists, or if you're involved in advocating with people with don't have resources. And everyone came together in different ways to help, those in need. There was a lot of temporary shelters that were set up. And of course, like with you guys, firefighters came from everywhere to help, and the aid came from everywhere. So it's seeing a friend, Jerry Dodrell, did photos of all the put a poster together of all the fire trucks and where they came from, and there was almost every state they had sent people to help fight that fire,
even from Mexico,
right?
Even from the country they came.
Yeah. That's to fight the fires. In terms of what happened afterwards, I mean, it was ongoing for a long period of time. And of course, I have quite a few friends who lost their homes, and some that fled with kids. And, the mental toll of losing it all, and the changing. Yeah. I mean, it's just a profound impact on people. There's lots of, I know that in terms of the cycling community, Peter Sagan came and specialized in Trail House and Bike Monkey, helped organize that. And that was like cyclists helping cyclists to raise something. So it's great to connect with whomever we're involved with to give there. I mean, we talked about, what can we do or post, and I've seen so many things of ways to donate and to help and support. And it's I don't know. I don't know if this is kind of a divergent from your question, but one thing that struck me, similarities but differences between the fires in LA and up here is, I went to visit you guys in Rye because I want some nice warm weather. I was like, and last year it dawned on me, wow, LA is the desert. You think of LA as it's a big city, but it's a desert civilization, right? It's according to Mark Reisner, it's the largest desert civilization in the history of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
And we forget that because it's the city and you got this and that. So for, you know, like this will pass, but it's still a desert next week and next month. So the fire threat you guys live with it's going to be a huge shift mentally. Like, oh, it's not just up in the mountains, but it's like the neighborhoods. For us, it can happen now, but it is seasonal. Once the rains come and we get 15, like September, October, once the rains properly come, like fire season has passed until the next May, June, July. And so what my heart goes out to for the Southern California community is like, it's still desert in the mountains. And so as we have those conditions that are prime for fires, like, you know, I don't know where I'm going with that, but it's, there's so many people that live in risk, you know, and the way fire interacts, I think that will shift. Like we talked about you moving your parents, Zach, and like my buddy's place that burned in Coffee Park. Like we, in our little experience of nature, we think of how fire moves and where it might go. And then what happens during a fire and with the weather, like it's just, it's insane how things can jump and to spread. I mean, I don't know, I'm rambling on. You asked me what the community, they just did so much. And like, it really brought people together. But it's been hard because it's happened over and over and over again. Like it's not a one-offer. So the pattern of the change of our climate, you know, the fact that we have an administration that won't even use the term or acknowledge that that's something that's happening, to be taking steps to mitigate and to go pointing fingers, like that. Just the fact that during a tragedy like this, that people will point fingers and play politics and just like, instead of like looking at like taking care of people,
it's disgusting. It's maddening. Hold on a second. My dog hears that bell and he thinks something's wrong. Hold on.
Yeah. You know, when people are in crisis, it's not the time. Like there'll be time to talk about things that can be done better in the future, but it's not a time to be doing that. And, you know, all politics are local. People take care of people. That's difficult to see. And that's a tough path ahead of us as a species and as a country.
It's our biggest thing.
Yeah, well, we haven't had an earthquake for a while either. So, you know, it's just one of those things. Maybe we're all old enough to see these cycles happen, that they do naturally happen. You can't totally avoid them. And someone was even pointing out, even if you totally raked like a half-mile buffer, then you're getting rid of all the natural habitat of the wildlife. You bring mudslides, and it's even interesting. Like my parents, that, you know, I think as a crow flies, were like 5 miles away from the perimeter of the Palisades fire. They've been seeing a lot of wild animals going through their neighborhood because, you know, I was like, they didn't come all the way from there. I'm like, probably not, but, you know, some animals are pushing them out, and it's just kind of like sending them all out and around. So, yeah, there's only so much you can do to kind of stop it. And I know that you can build better fire resilient buildings, which does help. And there are maybe some systems that do better, but I mean, everybody saw the video of how violent those flames were flying out there.
It's the winds. It was because of the winds were raging. But the bottom line is, and I don't know why we're just glossing over it, it's freaking climate change. Everything is getting more intense. We're having climate whiplash. We had 2 of the wettest seasons we've had in a long time. And then we go from that to extreme drought the next season. So we had all that greenery, all that, we had floods, landslides and everything 2 seasons ago, and now we have insane, intense fires because everything's dry. We haven't had rain since April or May. So it's freaking climate change. It's, you can't say it's Republicans or Democrats or that shit is stupid. We keep burning stuff and putting it in the atmosphere. Earth's getting hotter and the weather's changing. That's it. So we have to fix that. That's what we have to fix. And we're just still saying, oh, it's because they didn't rake the forest. Fire is a natural thing. Fire is a necessary thing for the forest, but not this intense, crazy fire that just takes over everything. That, it's climate change. Bottom line, and until we fix that, we're fucked. We're just rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, talking about, raking the forest.
Yeah. We can back up to the other, like I was just out on Low Gap and Mendocino River Company along with Cal Fire and the county were doing some shaded fuel breaks. So up along the top of the ridge, you'll see on Low Gap, you actually get views now. So they're going all the way up, they're cutting, they're chipping, and they've been doing some similar stuff up with Redwood Forest Foundation. And Redwood Forest Foundation, who we work with for the USOL event, is actually working with Native American co-management plans. And I listened to one of the speakers who's, I believe he's with the Yurok tribe, but he's got his PhD in fire science and bringing about some traditional practices that have been done along with the current science stuff to mitigate and manage and to burn. And so to see that there are folks involved in the Forest Service and in private and in timber that are taking some of those steps, that's encouraging. But like you said, Vic, I mean, things are changing. And I was going to say, to the point of people losing homes, like a lot of the folks that are up in the ridges and in the canyons and we're lost in Fountain Grove, I mean, people are well insured and they're able to build and they get the possessions back. But there's a lot of folks who don't have those resources, that are homeless, and like possessions are gone and clothes are gone. And like, it's not the same for everybody to lose what they have.
The people in Altadena are going to suffer 100-fold over the people in Palisades. Bottom line. And it sucks so much. It's like, I don't see it ever getting rebuilt in Altadena. It's going to take decades, if ever.
Yeah. I mean, and the other natural disasters, look at some of the flooding in the South. It tends to be, the poorest folks that are in neighborhoods where they're affected by natural disasters that aren't able to up and move. So it's a complex, it's complex, and it's not really in our scope to solve that. But, folks will come together and support those that are there, and, we'll get through and we'll move on and hopefully be more prepared for that. I know that my wife and I, in Sebastopol, we've been safe, but we evacuated probably 3 or 4 times. We've got down to like 2 bags, like our clothing and our photo albums. Like when you start paring down, we have so much stuff. And if you think, okay, you have an hour to leave, what are you going to take with you? You're going to take your pets. You're going to take some photo albums. You're going to take some important documents. And like, that's an existential realization that I think is a valuable thing for humans, because we are, and Americans that have so much. And then you realize you care about the well-being of your family and your neighbors and the people down the street and people you don't know, and your photos of your kids. You know what I mean? And I've seen people already posting photos about that. And like, my bikes can stay there. My tools can stay there. I'm going to grab the album. Well, maybe one of my bikes.
I was just going to say, at least one bike. There's no way I'm going to let all my bikes fry. I got a van. I'm taking 3 bikes, 4 bikes. But you're right. The pets, the pictures and documents. I mean, and your life and get your neighbors out and your friends and family. And that's the important stuff. This is just stuff. The rest of this stuff can burn. But you only have one life. And that's the one thing that's happened during this tragedy. And it kind of always happens, but this scale is unprecedented to me, is how people have come together to help each other. The thing at the Rose Bowl and the thing at Santa Anita Racetrack is just it's amazing that the support, the level of support, and the heart, and just all the help, and all the restaurants and small businesses kicking in and just being super generous with their time and their money and their whatever they have to offer. It's just been tremendous to see. It gives me hope for humanity, really.
Yeah. The crisis brings us closer, and we just hope that those lessons learned from that continue on in building stronger, more united, accepting, caring communities, because that at the end of the day is like what is why we are who we are, because that's, I mean, and for us, it's the bikes in our communities, and it's so much more. I mean, you don't do this just so you can have a bike, and I don't, nor do I. And,
well, I mean, I was thinking about from this point, like, it's not just losing your home, you're losing your neighbors, you're losing the community around you. And, I think, like, I know my neighbors really well, and, to lose that community right around you and that familiarity. And, Eric, who shows up to a lot of our Send It Rise, lives in Altadena, who lost his home. He has a few bikes, but he grabbed his gravel bike because it was most versatile. And he went out for a ride over the weekend. And, I think, one, like, I think we all know how much just being on a bike sometimes helps your mental state. But, I think also for these people, like, being on a bike is also your community and how you interact. And I know for sure Vic and Mig, like, that's a big part of what we do too, or the people who we have around. So, once this kind of like settles down and, we get to that point, maybe that'll be something we try and do, is to get bikes back into people's hands so they can have some sense of normalcy with their lives, because it will probably take longer to rebuild their homes and have that community back where they are. But, being on a bike is also a big part of our community, and, why we're all friends.
That's a great idea.
Get bikes back to the kids. I know that through the local shops and through Specialized, they give hundreds of bikes to kids. Like, it's missing, and that's part of being a kid, is having a bike and moving, and, like, whatever sport that they're into, getting people back to have those things so they can start doing what they enjoy doing. And I think, for the same reason we do sports.
Absolutely.
Yeah, anyways, and I know you guys aren't out of, wasn't today a super high? Did it come to Pat B? Weren't there super high?
It's over at 4 a.m, or 11. No, it's 4 a.m. to 11 o'clock tomorrow.
I thought it was today, but
that's today.
Like 6 o'clock was supposed to be the lift. I didn't check. I mean,
all right.
I think, like, we lucked out where, Vic and I live not too far. I don't think it was as bad, although I saw some videos.
It was worse at higher,
stuff
like that, higher elevations.
Yeah. And the other thing that's so important is following the advice that people say, when you have to leave, because it makes it so difficult to do their job. And you can't just, like, all of a sudden get on the 10.
No.
Look over everybody and go, no. What are you doing here? You can't just leave when you want. It's chaos and it's pandemonium. So, like, following those warnings and the advice, it's so important. I know our community struggle with that as well. It's my home, I'm going to be fine, or I need to defend it. But, like, listening to the folks that are telling folks to get out of there, like, that's really important. I mean, they're there to do their job.
Unfortunately, a few people died defending their home. And I can't say that it can't be worth it. It can't be worth it, because now they're gone and the home is gone. So what the hell?
Well, the wind anyway. So be careful where you guys are too. You feel okay, but I remember reading. When the fire was going, I was on my roof hosing it off and, like, blowing and, like, reading passages from, like, a hotel Bible that, like, landed on my roof. It's like,
It lands on your roof.
On my roof, yeah. So distance that things will travel. We again, like our perception of like the way fireworks, we're not trained in it, and it's like that's why the other fires can pop up. You're like, oh, I'm 5 miles away, and anyways, you guys be safe as well. And if they tell you to get out of there, get out of there.
My bag is packed.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to need that fat bike so I can go over anything.
I had a revelation. I realized I have an electric gate. And so if my car is facing out and everything, if the power is out, I'm stuck.
Run right through it.
Well, I have to.
Don't you have an override button? You haven't checked that?
No, I have to like take the cover off and there's a quick release on the arm. So I can take the arm off. And I've done that once, but not in a panic, just because I had to leave. But it was like, oh shit, the gate won't open. Why won't the gate open? Oh, no power. So yeah. So the gate was open all the past couple of days.
Well, if anyone can get up, north, it's. I mean, obviously they have to make sure everyone's all safe, but being able to leave your area for a while and get some clean air is good for folks. So,
yeah. Well, we'll wrap it up here. If you're on YouTube, if you check the below, I've got links to Grasshopper series. So, I did a good job with the webpage. It captures even more.
Yeah, it's good. It looks really good.
Thank you.
And it's like,
and I didn't know about King Ranch. Is it King Ranch? King Ridge? King
Ridge.
Yeah.
I love that. I want to do that.
Nice.
Okay.
Our hope is now that you hear about a grasshopper, you go to the webpage and you're like, okay, this is what it is. Here's the events. Because before it was a little enigmatic, which is kind of how it all evolved. But you're like, wait, what is this? And is it a race? And is it a series? And so we want new people to feel welcome and to understand it. So I think we put a lot of work into that, and they're all great events. My favorite one is always what's the next one, and they're different, and there's different connections to the communities in different ways, different bikes. So if anyone has any questions, they could ping us and ask Zach and Vic, and
we got you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I really appreciate the time to chat and to talk a little bit about the fires. It's really hard to know what to say other than I just send my love and support to folks. And
we'll organize something more. And for also underneath, I've got some links and some people to donate to.
I had to donate to my own cousin. My cousin lost her house in Altadena. Two cousins on my mom's side. It's just anyway, enough doom and gloom. We'll just keep it positive and donate and help in everywhere we can, and just like Mick said, we gotta rethink how we do these things and just get through this.
All right, Mig, thanks for joining us.
Got to keep moving. Got to keep the wheels rolling, or you fall over. Always forward, never straight. That's what I like.
Never straight.
Forward, never straight.
I never heard that. I like that.
Yeah, I guess you've seen my writing. I get it. Another dig. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining, and hope to see you at one of the hoppers. All right.
Take care. It's great.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Good night.